My parents have 4 kids. I'm 16 years old, the oldest, and next is my brother Harry, who is 13 years old, then my sister Jazz, who is 11 years old, and then my youngest sister Amy, who is 8 years old. Harry and Jazz have autism. Neither can talk clearly, but mumbling is the best they have learned, and they were delayed developmentally, so walking came later for them as well. Harry and Jazz are in a special needs school, a private one, because my parents wanted the best chance for them, and this place was highly recommended. Both my parents work longer hours for this, and because of the longer hours they work and the aftercare they're paying for, Harry and Jazz, it has meant I needed to take on some more responsibility, especially with Amy. I take care of her every day after school until our parents come home. That includes cooking and deep cleaning the kitchen after I finish making food for us, so my parents can cook for Jazz and Harry and not risk any issues with the food, because both have highly sensitive taste buds and they have limited diets. When Harry and Jazz go for respite or all-day therapies, my parents make time for Amy and just Amy. They don't want her to feel left behind or like she doesn't matter. I do not get the same attention. I never did, even when I was younger and things were bad. Amy was always the kid they prioritized time with when they had it, and I had expectations put on me that I would do my best to give her a great childhood. They put a lot of that responsibility on my shoulders by the time I was just 11 years old. I'm also more responsible for keeping the house clean because of my parents' working hours. Sometimes I'm the only one who cleans in a week, and I used to try and get Amy to help out with some light stuff. But my parents told me to let her enjoy her childhood. Recently, my uncle and aunt died, and my cousin, who also has autism, ended up in foster care. My parents wanted to take him, but they told me they would need me to step up and do more for us to make it work. They even told me how bad my cousin has it in foster care right now. Dad told me he has not found stability since his parents died several weeks ago. So what do they want? Me to take over all the cooking, for me to do the grocery shopping, but not with Amy, of course. And they want me to start adjusting to having 3 kids, 2 with special needs at times. So they can take 1 kid at a time to their therapies and appointments. It pissed me off, because they also asked me to babysit all 3 special needs kids, so they can make a bit more time for Amy, because it will be hardest on her. I was pissed off, so I said sure, I'll do it, but only until I'm 18, and then I'll be done, and they will never see me again. My parents told me my anger was unwarranted, and everyone has to make sacrifices when a family is dealing with this many special needs kids. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. If you haven't read up on being parentified, you're a classic victim. Is there someone at school or a friend's parent that can advocate for you and explain the injustice to your parents? If not, you might have to take the nuclear option. When the social worker comes round to check on your home situation, which I assume will happen before any adoption, explain exactly what they're asking of you. Don't lose your temper. Frame it in terms of your concern that you can't manage all that, and your schoolwork. Say how relieved you are that they aren't placing any of the burden on Amy, because it means that at least she's had a childhood. If the adoption goes ahead after that, I'll be very surprised, and it might change a few other things. Best of luck. Comment 2. If you're in the United States, if you tell the foster care social worker what you just told us, internet strangers, your parents likely won't be allowed to take in your cousin. Your parents would be adopting the child, not you, and they have to be able to care not only for that child, but for all of you. They shouldn't pass the home study phase. That sucks for the cousin because foster care is a really tough place to be and is worse for kids with special needs. However, that is not your fault. It's not on you. You shouldn't be doing all the work you are doing. I'm sorry you never really got to be a kid. In case it wasn't obvious, you're not the idiot. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a chaotic 3 months since then, and a lot has happened. I'm back to share the latest chapter of my family's saga, and let me tell you, it's been a roller coaster. So, remember how my parents wanted me to step up even more after my uncle and aunt passed away, leaving my cousin in foster care? Well, I did. I took on all the cooking, grocery shopping, and managing the house. I was juggling school, chores, and caring for my siblings like a pro. Or at least, I thought I was. But here's where things took a turn. My cousin, who we'll call Mark, finally moved in with us. I thought I was prepared, but nothing could have prepared me for the betrayal that was about to unfold. It started with small things. I noticed my parents whispering a lot, and Amy was suddenly very hush-hush about her special outings with them. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I found out the truth. One day, I overheard a conversation between my parents that left me stunned. They were planning a weekend getaway. Just the three of them. My parents and Amy. No mention of Harry, Jazz, Mark, or me. They were talking about how they deserved a break and how Amy needed normal family time. I was floored. After everything I'd done, they were sneaking around to take a vacation without us. I confronted them, and it was the most intense argument we've ever had. They tried to justify it by saying that Amy needed this, that it was too hard to take everyone, and that I was capable of handling things. But I wasn't having it. I told them it wasn't fair that they kept asking more of me while they gave Amy special treatment. The betrayal cut deep. I felt like I was just a caretaker, not a part of the family. I was giving up my teenage years, and they couldn't even be honest with me. I was so angry, I told them I was done. I said I'd keep my word until I turned 18, but after that, I was out. They didn't take me seriously, saying I was just being dramatic. But the drama didn't stop there. A week later, I found out that my parents had been setting aside money for Amy's future. College, a car, a normal life. Nothing for Harry, Jazz, Mark, or me. It was like a slap in the face. I had been working so hard, and they were planning Amy's perfect future, while the rest of us were just there. I felt betrayed, not just for myself, but for my siblings too. Harry and Jazz might not understand everything that's going on, but they feel the difference in how they're treated. And Mark, he's been through so much already. He didn't need to come into a family where he'd feel like a second-class citizen. The confrontation that followed was even worse than the first. I told my parents how unfair they were being, how they were dividing the family. They tried to explain that they were just trying to give Amy a chance at a life that Harry, Jazz, and Mark might never have. But that didn't sit right with me. We were all their kids, and we all deserved to be treated equally. Things have been tense since then. I've been sticking to my responsibilities because I don't want Harry, Jazz, and Mark to suffer. But my relationship with my parents is strained. Amy is caught in the middle, feeling guilty, but also enjoying the privileges she's been given. I'm counting down the days until I'm 18. I've started looking into scholarships and part-time jobs. I'm determined to build a life for myself, one where I'm not just the family caretaker. It's going to be tough, but I've learned that I'm stronger than I ever thought possible. As for my parents, I don't know what the future holds for our relationship. I hope one day they'll see how their actions have affected all of us. But for now, I'm just trying to get through each day, taking care of my siblings, and planning for a future where I can be my own person. My brother-in-law spreads lies about my friend at work for revenge, so I team up with her to sue him and show the family his true cheating colours. My in-laws are currently furious with me for hurting my brother-in-law's feelings and reputation with my friend group. Recently, my single brother-in-law Chris, 38-year-old male, has been hinting at me to introduce him to women, and I've refused. Chris has been single for almost 3 years and has been having a hard time meeting women. He tried flirting with my friend, but she had been cold and non-receptive. This friend, Grace, 35-year-old female, is not interested in him due to his inability to be faithful and his lack of physical attractiveness to her. He tried to flirt with her during a small party that my husband and I had last Saturday. My husband got a long-awaited promotion, so we had a little party. During the party, Grace grew frustrated with his incessant flirting and told him in no uncertain terms that she found him physically ugly and that his physical ugliness is only surpassed by the ugliness of his character. She told him this in private, so no other guest heard her scathing review of him. Chris left the party. The following afternoon, while my husband and I were nursing a wicked hangover, my in-laws surprisingly called to scold me for having abused and embarrassed Chris. After a few minutes of us shouting back and forth on the phone, I reminded my husband that handling his family was his job. So while my husband argued with his parents, I reviewed our security cameras. And honey, Grace verbally tore him apart. Grace reminded him that he cheated on and divorced his late ex-wife, Lily, when she was battling cancer, and that he then got dumped by the mistress for being a cheater as he continued to cheat on her. Grace told him that he wasn't a man of any significant value other than the few coins he had in the bank, and that there's no way in hell she'd entertain his delusions of intimacy, grandeur, and beauty. She also said the only thing he had going for him was his overbloated job title as an executive director of a third-rate company that will probably collapse in the next 5 years. As a parting gift, She told him to consider some cosmetic work to improve his haggard appearance, and perhaps to start praying for divine intervention to fix his rotten soul, since there is no way a psychotherapist could ever come close to fixing whatever is wrong with him. My in-laws and Chris feel that I shouldn't have told my friends what Chris did, because he's now perceived by my girlfriends as a terrible person. I told them he was unfortunately a terrible person, and people would always have found out what happened between him and the late, great Lily. I then discussed what happened with my colleague, Natasha. She said I was cruel for having told my friend group about what happened between Chris and his ex-wife, because Chris has grown a lot in the past 2 years and doesn't need to be known for the worst thing he has ever done. Natasha is dating Chris's friend, so she also knows him. FYI, I've only discussed Chris's treatment of Lily with my direct friend group, and that's only 6 people, and half of them already knew as they were also friends with Lily. So it's not like I'm screaming, hear ye, in the town square. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot sounds like you did well and protected your friends. He can go somewhere else. It's like a job. What if you introduce a friend and recommend them for the job? Your reputation is on the line. Same here. Your friends would never look at you the same if you recommended a cheater to them in any way. Comment 2. Oh my word, poor Chris and his delicate ego. Running to mommy and daddy to cry because he can't get a girl to kiss him. Wah wah wah. Obviously you're not the idiot. Chris's reputation is already out there, and he can't understand why nobody wants to kiss the warty toad that he is. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a week since I last posted about the drama with my brother-in-law Chris, and let me tell you, things have escalated to a whole new level of crazy. So, after the whole blowout with Chris at the party, things seemed to quiet down for a bit. My husband and I were still dealing with the fallout from his parents, who were convinced I had orchestrated some grand scheme to humiliate Chris. But then, just when I thought we could maybe move past this, I found out that Chris had been secretly plotting his revenge. Turns out, Chris had been nursing a grudge against Grace ever since she rejected him. He couldn't stand the fact that someone had called him out on his past mistakes. So, he decided to spread rumors about Grace at work. Grace, who's a respected manager at our local bank, suddenly found her reputation under attack. Chris had told a couple of co-workers that Grace was the one who had been aggressively pursuing him and that he had to reject her advances. This was a complete lie, but you know how gossip spreads like wildfire. Grace was blindsided by the rumors. She's always been professional and kept her personal life separate from work. When she confronted Chris about it, he just smirked and said she had it coming for embarrassing him. Grace was devastated, and she came to me for support. I couldn't believe Chris would stoop so low. But wait, there's more. Remember Natasha, my colleague who's dating Chris's friend? She got dragged into this mess too. Natasha had been defending Chris, saying he had changed, but when she heard about what he did to Grace, she was shocked. She confronted him, and that's when the real news dropped. Chris admitted to Natasha that he hadn't changed at all. He was still cheating on his current girlfriend with multiple women. Natasha was disgusted. She had been vouching for him, and he made her look like a fool. She immediately broke up with her boyfriend, Chris's friend, because she couldn't trust him anymore either. Now, my husband is furious with his brother. He had been trying to give Chris the benefit of the doubt, but this was the last straw. My husband confronted Chris, and they had a huge argument. Chris accused my husband of always taking my side and not being a supportive brother. But my husband stood his ground and told Chris he needed to get his act together. As for my in-laws, they're still trying to defend Chris, but even they're starting to see that he's the architect of his own downfall. They're disappointed in him, but they're also upset with me for exposing Chris's true nature to my friends. In the midst of all this, I've been trying to support Grace. She's considering legal action against Chris for defamation, and I've told her I'll back her up however I can. It's a mess, but I'm not going to let Chris get away with ruining someone's life just because his ego got bruised. My dad's new wife tosses mom's keepsakes and cozies up to my grandparents, so I stand my ground and dad finally sees her true colors, letting me stay with them instead. I, 15-year-old male, was adopted once already. My biological mother did not want to be a parent, and she walked out when I was born. My dad met my mom when I was still a baby, and she adopted me when I was 2, a few months after they got married. She was the best mom ever, and I miss her every single day. She died when I was just 6, and losing her really messed me up. I still struggle sometimes with not having my mom. My dad isn't the most emotional or warm guy, which meant I lost the parent who knew how to comfort me. Luckily, my grandparents, mom's parents, were like my mom and were that comfort for me. It wrecked me more when dad started dating less than a year after mom died and remarried before my mom had been gone 2 years. I hate my dad's wife. She assumes that because my mom wasn't biologically my mother, and because she died when I was just 6, it meant she could be replaced easier than any other parent. Her attitude toward my mom has been shitty from day one. She even said my mom told me I was adopted when she could have passed me off as her own since I was so young, and the fact she didn't meant she wasn't really my mom, she was just playing a role. My dad is just too cold to give a crap, I think. I think he likes having someone else around to raise his kid, and now he has 3 kids, 2 with his wife, and he wants whatever his wife does to keep her happy. So he looked into another adoption of me. But they were told, given my age at the time, no adoption would happen if I wasn't okay with it. They tried to find out if they could pay more to have it happen, but were told they would pay and then get rejected. And I will never say yes. I would rather be in foster care than be adopted by her. We fight a lot. We don't get along, but she tries to claim me as hers, and it bothers her to be rejected by someone who never even knew his real mother. I always point out I do have a real mom. She died when I was 6, and Dad's wife will never be as good as her or worthy of filling in for her. It's tense, it's toxic, and I know my only escape is when I can force my dad to let me stay with my grandparents for a few hours of a night or two, which isn't often. His wife hates that I still have them in my life, so he refuses often for her. My dad's in-laws are staying with us for a few weeks, visiting their grandkids. And Sunday, we had dinner together, unfortunately, and they asked when she was finally going to adopt me, because it was crazy that she had kids with my dad, but hadn't adopted me when I'm motherless. I told them I'm not. My mom died, but she's still my mom. They said it wasn't right, and that their daughter has been my mom longer, and she deserves to have it be official. I told them she's never been my mom, and will never deserve to be my mom, which is why I will never let the adoption happen. The whole day went to shoot, and I was sent to my room, and then on Monday I was told to apologize, and when I didn't, it was stated by all 4 adults that I was an ungrateful brat. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The evil in me compels me to say this. Next time stepmother goes on a rant, you could always say, "Don't worry, if you die suddenly, he'll replace you just as fast. He'll make sure your kids never know they're adopted, just like you wanted. I'm so sorry you're going through this. See if you can get copies of all your important documents. Switch them out for the originals where possible when you can. Have them ready for the moment you turn 18 so you can move in with your grandparents. Not the idiot." Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your feelings are valid, and your dad and stepmother need to stop trying to force the issue. Is there someone at school, a counselor, or someone you can talk to who might be able to help you? You might be able to file for emancipation in a year or 2, but you should be able to request to live with your grandparents through the courts, given your age. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a month since then, and boy, do I have an update for you. So, after the whole blow-up at dinner with my dad's in-laws, things went from bad to worse. My dad's wife, let's call her Linda, has been on a mission to make my life miserable. She's been throwing away stuff that reminds me of my mom, like photos and keepsakes. I caught her red-handed, and when I confronted her, she just shrugged and said, "It's time to move on." I couldn't believe it. My dad, of course, did nothing. But here's where it gets really crazy. Linda's been trying to get closer to my grandparents, my mom's parents. She's been visiting them, bringing them gifts, and acting all sweet. It's like she's trying to replace my mom in every way possible, even with her own parents. My grandparents are polite, but they're not fooled. They see right through her act. Now, remember how I said I'd rather be in foster care than be adopted by Linda? Well, she found out about that. She's been using it against me, telling my dad that I'm ungrateful and that they should send me away if I don't accept her as my mom. My dad actually considered it. He said it might be for the best. I couldn't believe my ears. The man who raised me considering sending me away because his wife can't handle rejection. But wait, it gets even juicier. Linda's been parading around town, telling everyone she's my mom. She even tried to sign me up for therapy to deal with my adoption issues. I told the therapist the truth, that I don't consider her my mom, and never will. The therapist seemed to get it, but Linda was furious when I wouldn't play along with her narrative. The final straw came when Linda announced she was pregnant again. My dad was over the moon, but all I could think about was how this was just another tactic to push me out. Another kid to replace me, another reason for my dad to side with her. I've been spending more time at my grandparents' house just to get away from the madness. They've been my rock through all of this. They tell me stories about my mom, how she fought to adopt me, how much she loved me. It's the only thing keeping me sane. Now, here's the kicker. Linda's parents, the in-laws from hell, have been pushing for a family portrait with all of us. They want to hang it in their house like we're one big happy family. I flat out refused. Linda threw a fit, saying I was ruining their family image. My dad actually backed me up this time, saying it was my choice. I was shocked. Maybe there's a bit of the old him left in there after all. But the real moment of truth came just last week. Linda's parents were over again, and they started in on me about the adoption. I lost it. I told them everything. How Linda throws away my mom's stuff. How she's trying to erase my mom's memory. How she's not and never will be my mom. They looked stunned. Linda tried to deny it, but my dad, for once, spoke up. He confirmed what I said was true. There was this awkward silence, and then Linda's parents left, looking pretty upset. Since then, things have been tense, but there's been a shift. My dad's been more distant with Linda, and he's been letting me go to my grandparents' house more often. I don't know if it's guilt or what, but I'll take it. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.